Welcome back to Before the Clouds. Today I am here with my friend Allen.
Hey
Allen,
guys.
please introduce yourself.
Hey guys, my name's Allen, one of the founders of HOLLA Group, also head of Monkey. Monkey is currently one of the top social apps for Gen Z in the US. We're social top 5 in the US, top 10 in the UK, and top 5 in Australia. We have about 10 million users, with generating more than 3 billion matches so far.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
So the purpose of this podcast is to hear more about your struggles before you got the millions of users you currently have. So why don't we take it back to when you first started? How did it start, the app journey?
So my entrepreneur experience has started a long time ago. I've been in the startup business for about 10 years. My first venture is actually not tech related. I did a frozen yogurt shop back in Taiwan. We created about 15 stores and opened internationally, in China and Malaysia. But the early days was extremely hard. You have to do a lot of grunt work because you don't have the resources to hire the right talent to help you out. So you really have to dive in and put in the work yourself. So for one of the examples is I always tell anyone that asks about the entrepreneur story. In the early days of my frozen yogurt business, we had to do the incubation of yogurt ourselves.
Yeah.
And we opened stores till pretty late, close around 11 p.m. to midnight.
Yeah.
And after we closed the shop, we have to create the yogurt for the next day. So we would actually go into this little dungeon in the basement.
Yeah.
When we first started, we make yogurt till 4 in the morning. We go home and we sleep for a couple hours. We come back out and then we open the shop the next day. It got to the point where we were so bad, we literally just laid out milk powder bags on the floor and we slept in the dungeon just to have a little bit more sleep, catch another extra 30 minutes of sleep. So yeah, just gotta rough it out in the early days. You gotta do what you gotta do. For HOLLA, I think when we first started, it was back in Beijing, China. Just 7 or 8 of us in a really small apartment.
Yeah. What year was this?
This was back in 2016, in the year 2016.
Fairly recent.
Fairly recent. And the earlier versions of HOLLA, there weren't a lot of users. And as you guys know, HOLLA is a random video chat app. So what we do is we connect users through video chat, and that requires users to be live, online, ready to participate in video chat. So the participation effort is a little bit high, right? So in early days of HOLLA, we had the same 3 users using the app over and over again. So imagine on the app, you try to match with people, go through the rounds, and then every 3 or 4 guys, you would see the same guy again because there were many users. And to kind of break that 0 to 1, we had to spend a lot of effort to pick and choose our battles and focus on some of the strategies that really work, and even seed some of the earlier users ourselves, asking our friends and family to get on the app. So yeah, you just gotta go out there and gotta hustle, you gotta put in the work.
How long did it take for you to make the first version of HOLLA?
So the first version, the MVP took us probably 3 or 4 months, and it was barely usable, right? I think the most important thing is to identify what are the most important features that you make it right for your product, the things that really do matter, and cut out everything else, because early on you don't have that much resources, you can't get it perfect, and that's what an MVP stands for, right? A minimum viable product, or a minimum valuable product, some people might call it, and you have to identify what really works for users. For us, because the video chat app, the only thing that needs to be working is the video chat part, right? So the aesthetics, the UI doesn't need to be great, but you have to make sure users can connect quickly in real time with a good enough video quality. If you are connected and the picture or the video is extremely blurry, or there's a lag in audio, then the most essential part of the product doesn't even work, and then there's no point to even talk about anything else. So for us, we identified the 3 most important things that work for us, that were critical to make our product work, and we focused really hard on those 3 things, and to make sure that those 3 things are perfect. Everything else we kind of just cut out.
Right. Now, if I'm starting an app, it's hard to find developers. I'm sure in your case, it wasn't easy, right?
No. That was one of the hardest parts.
Right.
I think for us, so HOLLA Group, it's my 3rd venture. My 2nd venture, Vocino, is also a tech company. It's a social app company, and none of the founders knew anything about tech. None of us are coders, none of us had a tech background. And we had to hire externally, and it was one of the most frustrating things, because as you know, in a tech company, if none of the founders even know about tech, it's very hard to know which direction or how to come up with solutions for your users. And when you bring in external employees and whatnot, they're not the actual founders of the company. it's very hard for them to devote 150% for the product, right? And sometimes they'll say like, hey, I just can't do this, I need 4 extra weeks or whatever, and you have no way to kind of like say, hey, I think we can do a better solution, or we can do another solution to fix this. So for HOLLA Group, I think for us, one of the most important things is we started with a few founders that had a pretty good tech background. So they were able to kind of work out some tech solutions ahead of time to make sure that we're coming up with the best solution, the most optimal and the most, with highest ROI, highest efficiency. I think that's really important.
Where do you get money to start? Because I'm sure people are wondering, like, if they have an idea, how do you get that first concept out if you don't have any money?
You just have to bootstrap. I think for, depends on the business. If you are in the B2B business, as in you're creating a software for businesses and enterprises, for example, and eventually want them to pay revenue, then that's one thing, right? If you want to go in for the consumer side, that's another thing. And in consumer, like for HOLLA and Monkey, for example, it's free early on as a social app. Some consumer apps does require payment, whether it's subscription, like Tinder, or e-commerce. So you have to really identify the strategy for your product early on. And I think for anyone to start, you have to bootstrap. You just have to go in there with understanding like, hey, we don't have a lot of money to pay high-level employees, so we have to kind of just do it ourselves. You have to bootstrap it. Again, your most critical barrier of entry and bottleneck is going to be time. So identify the 2 or 3 things that's most pertinent to your product, and make sure you do those things perfectly.
Okay, no, that makes a lot of sense. What was like your biggest struggle with HOLLA, where you almost not quit, but you felt like you were on that kind of like ledge?
Oh yeah, oh man.
Like that?
I think for us, the biggest hurdle, well, there are 2 things. One is the 0 to 1, right? As I mentioned earlier.
What does 1 mean?
1 means like you have a little bit of traction, you got some, right?
Like 1,000 users?
1,000 or 10,000, depends on your product. For us, it was 10,000 users.
How long did that take?
So it took us a couple months. But the thing is, the growth wasn't a steady incline. It wasn't like, it's 100 users every day. It was like, let's say 2 months, right? For the first month and a half, maybe we were stuck around 1,000 users.
Right.
But the last 2 weeks, we shot up to 10,000 users really quickly because we
got paid marketing, right?
No, 0 paid marketing, and because we knew we got a few things right. So you have to do a lot of tweaks, and when you hit that critical point or that tipping point, you're going to see a very dramatic uptick in your growth. That's when you know you made those proper bets. So for us, 10,000 users was the first KPI, because for you to be able to match with anyone, you got to have users live on the platform, right? Otherwise, you can come on the platform, there's nobody on here, the app is not even usable, right? So the 0 to 1 was one of the biggest hurdles for us early on. The second thing that was really hard for us was overcoming the stigma and creating a safe environment for our users. So HOLLA and Monkey, you can almost think of us as early days of child-led, but on mobile. Right? But it has grown so much more since then. And with child-led or Mango, there's always the stigma of inappropriate content on the platform. And that was one of the things we definitely made it our mission to overcome early on. To make sure we facilitate and moderate the platform to really ban the users who are inappropriate. So what we did was, we had to think of a really smart and accurate and efficient approach to fix this problem. So how do we do that? Early on, we had to team up with content moderation teams with UI visual recognition software, third party. We don't train it ourselves. It will take us a long time with a lot of data. So we just find the best one out there to kind of help us create the algorithm to help us identify and moderate our platform. That saved us a lot of time and energy. Obviously, really early on, when we didn't have the ability to afford this, we had to kind of do the moderation ourselves. So I still remember the really early days when we are, flagging and monitoring all the chats ourselves. We had to see a lot of nudity. And it was during Chinese New Year. None of us took breaks. We worked 24/7. The founders, the founding team, we rotated and we took turns just moderating the platform to make sure we are banning these inappropriate users as quickly as possible.
Because if they get out, then it's bad at PR.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And these users, they are influencing not just themselves but other users too, right? So imagine a new user coming on their platform, they're here for a good experience, and then they're exposed to inappropriate content as the first match. Then they're churning all these new users. So it's really, really important for us to make sure we facilitate the community well for these new users, so they stay and they're retained. and that churn due to other bad users. So early days we just had to do it ourselves. We got to go through the rounds, and as our team grew a little bit bigger, the tech became more robust, our visual recognition software became more accurate. We slowly automated the whole process to make sure that we have a high efficiency in gaining these users in real time.
So essentially, it took some time to like learn, right?
Yeah.
And then I want to dig a little bit into like your personal struggle, because you mentioned a lot about your team struggle, but now let's hear like stuff that you had to sacrifice in order to get to where you are today. Like, what's something that most people don't know about you?
I think to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a few personality traits. For example, you have to be tenacious. You have to have a lot of grit. You have to love what you do. And you have to sincerely believe in the drive to change and to create. I think for entrepreneurship is not for everyone. You have to give a lot of sacrifices.
Like what sacrifice did you have to give personally? Like what battle scars did you gain?
Definitely there's opportunities and time, right? So when I first graduated, there were a lot of opportunities for me to take on, to join a corporate company, for example, right? With 6-digit salary as a 21-year-old, it's a decent amount of money, right? But I had to give those up, right? In exchange for virtually minimum pay. I still tell the story of my early days when I did a frozen yogurt startup. I was living off of one little Chinese bun per day every day for 6 months.
Wow.
Because
was this after college?
It was right after college. My parents cut me off because they wanted to really test my determination to be an entrepreneur. So
because you had the 6-figure offers, and I'm sure they were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, and as a Chinese parent, like, hey, we have this American education, we provide you with this American education, and instead of going out and getting salary, now you're paying salary to people. And it was 2008. It was during the financial crisis. So that was, they were like, what are you doing? You're crazy, right? And to really test our determination, they cut both me and my partner and his parents cut both of us off.
Wow.
So we were living off of the minimum amount of money we had. We raised a tiny bit of money, and literally we were feeding ourselves one Chinese bun a day,
which is like $1 a day.
$1 a day. I think maybe even 50 cents a day for 6 months. We did that.
Where did you sleep?
We slept in this one tiny studio apartment. Not even a 1-bedroom studio apartment. My partner and I, we just slept on the floor, and we really grinded it out. But I think that's one of the most valuable times as an entrepreneur, because you really learn to appreciate the value of money. It forces you to look inward to determine if this is the lifestyle that is set up for you, that you're ready for. And if you think at the end of the day what you're doing you still strongly believe in, and you love that drive to create value, that is what's going to make a difference, and what it's going to separate you apart from those people that are just testing it out, and versus the ones that are listening that say like, hey, I really want to create a company. A lot of people say like, hey, I'm bored of my corporate job, so maybe I should just start a company. That's not the right reason to do it. You have to really believe in what you're doing. Otherwise, if you're just testing it out, you won't be cut out for it.
And I can see like the tenacity that people need in order to succeed, because in your case, it took you 8 or 9 years before you started seeing like real traction, right? Because now you guys have raised like millions of dollars, you're highly valued, and it's just like good to see. So definitely. To wrap this up, what's a final piece of advice that you would have to offer to, I guess, somebody who wants to leap into the app world, but they have no funding or any idea what to do? They just have an idea.
So I think this goes for anyone that wants to start a company in general.
Let's stick to apps.
Let's stick to apps. Okay. So for app companies, you really have to find your edge. Don't worry about finding solutions that can't scale, that won't scale. Just worry about if you're creating a solution that no one is doing as well as you. I think that's critically important. You have to offer some kind of value where they can't get elsewhere. So for example, for HOLLA and Monkey, what are they offering for users? So we connect users through video chat. It's not just random video chat. What we do is we have determined to utilize video chat as the main form of communication to connect users. Why? Because when we provide video chat, you gain so much more from this conversation. It's a lot more engaging, a lot more authentic. a lot more information can be relayed in a much shorter amount of time. And that is just a trend. As the internet grows, as technology grows, that's just a trend. Just like video content is being consumed far more than, let's say, image content or even text content. Right? It's just the way that the industry is moving towards.
Yeah.
So when you have an idea, you have to make sure that you don't just have like a bonus on top of something that exists already. It has to be really, really good, right? Don't worry about it if you have to put in a lot of hard work, manual labor. Just make sure that whatever solution you're providing, other people can do, and that your users or your customers are returning the platform because you're so good at it. Once you get that, that's when you can almost say like, hey, I found product market fit, right? My solution and a user pain point fits extremely well, and I'm doing this better than anybody else. That's when you can go out and start looking for a little bit of funding for angel round, for seed or whatever it may be, and then you can slowly grow your team elsewhere, right? I think so. The most important thing is make sure you have a solution that no one else is providing yet.
Awesome advice, Alan. How do people get a hold of you?
You guys can reach me at Allen at holla.world. That's ALLEN at holla HOLLA.world WORLD. Just shoot me an email. Love to connect, guys.
All right, thanks, guys, and that's a wrap.
See you guys.